Welcome to the Ripples of Perception series. I'm Lisa Hayes.
I'm Iva Nasr.
We're so excited you're here joining us because just as casting a pebble into a pond creates ripples, so do we as we go through life.
Please stay with us through the series as Lisa and myself, in each segment, share a variety of stories, downloads, and experiences that enrich our understanding of perception.
Are you ready to get started?
More than ready. Happy New Year, Lisa.
Happy New Year, Iva.
Of course, the linear calendar has its place when we have an excuse to party and celebrate. So I'm all in for a Happy New Year. Otherwise, every day is a new day, and every day deserves the wishes of a happy new day. So that's my pitch on the new year.
I like that.
I have been missing something lately, something that I normally have easy access to, and that's meditation.
Mm.
I'm not completely void of the process, of course, because it's mostly embodied and it's my way of thinking and being and feeling. However, I've noticed that in moments lately, I have a shorter fuse than I care to have. And so something is begging to be cleared. And last night, I was remembering different phases in my life when, first of all, when I was first introduced to just the concept of meditation, and then how my life evolved through that process. And I was like really missing those original moments last night, which tells me something's coming and I need to be in that mindset for it. And you were telling me how you also experienced a real revolution in your life from when you didn't even know how to meditate to being able to meditate and way beyond. So I would love to hear your story. And I'm going to sit back and listen and help me, please, Lisa, help me.
Well, I know you're going to have a lot to contribute to this. And the beauty of discussing meditation, especially in the light of a new year, is a discovery of what meditation is. And I think it's different for each of us. And I heard you say that you have learned to embody a form of meditation or a type of meditation or meditation itself, which, if fully embodied, it sounded like you won't be as triggered. And I think that that is our end goal, or at least where we want to go, is fully embodying a state of meditation in every moment of every day. Not easy. And how do we get there? I think the first step is to ask, how do I meditate? What is meditation? And that reminds me of a story I was sharing with you before this podcast. About 25 years ago, I went to a Fit for Life spa down in Pompano Beach for 5 days. And one of the sessions that we were able to attend was a group meditation. And back in those days, I had a trillion thoughts in my head. Attached to each thought was an emotional charge. And as I sat there in the room with all the other meditators, I said, this is ridiculous. I don't know what meditation is. I don't know how to meditate. I thought, I've got to leave. This is a waste of time.
Little did you know.
Later, I asked one of the ladies, I said, I don't know how to meditate. And they suggested I go in for what I now remember is or what I now know was a Reiki session with the director, which I had a metaphysical experience. And that was a catalyst for what was to come, 10 or more years later. Today, I realize that meditation, at least if I were to define it, is the ability to clean out not only our thoughts, but to clean out the emotional charges, because that's what I think comes first, Iva. And if we don't have these emotional charges stacked up one on top of each other in our brain, then we're going to be less triggered, are we not?
Very true. And maybe one distinction in this conversation that's worthy to be shared is that we can be in a state of meditation or feeling like we're not in a state of meditation and still have amazing things happen. Like there's a recruitment that normally comes through meditation that is ever present. So it's like, what am I trying to say here? There is something very specific about meditation that can be present or missing, but it doesn't mean you're not entirely aligned with. Help me out. So maybe it's best if you continue sharing your experience, because I'm really in a muddled place with this. I've experienced amazing, phenomenal moments lately. So I'm not unplugged. I'm not disconnected. There's assistance in all varieties coming through. I am also present in how what goodness I put out as well. So all of that is there, but I feel muddled, and my knowledge and my instinct says I'm out of touch with my meditation. I'm trying to like center the attention on the unique influence and power of meditation. Like what makes meditation distinct from other processes of communication that we have within ourselves and with our outside world. I hope I haven't like derailed the conversation. You asked me a question and I'm answering it with a question because I'm muddled.
I think that the fact that you're able to observe yourself in a sense that you are aware that you feel muddled is highly important from the standpoint that when we can become an observer of our own chaotic thought processes, our own chaotic emotional charge processes in our being, in our brain, that's not ours. It's just we're borrowing them from the field. When we feel in your case, feeling muddled, we realize that's out of alignment with our natural state. So the first step is to be able to observe it, because there's an old saying, it's got to be seen before it can be freed. I mean, I'm probably paraphrasing. It's got to be felt before it can be freed. And other people might say it has to come up to come out. So I think that what we're seeing in the intensity of the collective and in our own embodiment of the field thoughts and emotions is by observing it, that's the first step. The second step is, how do we set it free? Now we can feel it. We can feel this sensation of feeling muddled. And now we get to ask, how do we free it?
Direct it, and
Yeah.
then direct, like, because we are talking about ripples of perception, right? Staying true to our series. And do you agree that in this process and what you're sharing is the structure or discipline of carving out time for meditation? I think this is what simply I'm missing right now. To organize the chaos, a little bit of the routine, with that intentional experience of meditation in order to tap into the clearing and the freeing.
I think it's important, just like, we're supposed to rest when we're tired, it's important to give our mind a break. And meditation, when we remember how to do it, because we all inherently know how to do it, we have to first ask how, seek and you will find, and then it will come to us, because it's just remembering. And then we can give our mind a break, and then that's where clarity, intuition, and magic can occur. And just to share a brief story, about 25 years ago, when I was down at the Fit for Life spa, not knowing how to meditate and going into this Reiki session with the director, I had a metaphysical experience. So it was like my journey was to feel something sensational, to know, hey, meditation is more than I could have ever imagined. It's beyond my understanding at this time. I don't know what happened to me just now in this session with the director. However, I know it's beyond anything I've ever felt or experienced. Was it meditation? It was certainly a state whereby I wasn't thinking of anything. In fact, what happened, Iva, was I was lying on the meditation table and she was doing Reiki over me. And before I knew it, I could not close my eyes. My eyes were fluttering. I had so much energy. She intuitively asked me, "Do you see anything in your head?" I said, "Yes, there's a sun in there. My entire head is filled with a golden sun." Was I thinking of anything? Those trillion thoughts that I had the day before when I couldn't meditate? No, I was amazed at this sun that was in my head. And she asked, "Do you see colors going into your right leg and colors going out of your left leg?" And I said, "Yes." And so was I thinking of those trillion thoughts? And then I said, I don't know if I expressed it to her until afterwards, but I could not feel the meditation table. I started to feel my body as if it were several feet out. So it was like I felt my aura, my energy field. When I got done with that, I was befuddled. I asked her what happened, and it was like she explained things in a foreign language. That night was the last night. I was in a different state. The next morning, I couldn't take the noise and what I consider to be kind of chaotic energy at the airport. I got home, and my husband at the time said, "You've changed and I don't like it."
You were unfamiliar.
Yeah, this was 25 years ago. It wasn't until, about 14 years ago that I started back on track. I put it on hold. I guess my emphasis here is, there is something to seek and you will find. And there is something to observing. And when we observe, we're out of sync with our true nature of pure love. We feel muddled or befuddled or frustrated or triggered a little more. We all go there all the time. Then we have an opportunity to feel it and free it. And I'll get to that in a minute on what was I downloaded about a year and a half ago on that.
Well, go right into it.
Okay, well, one morning about a year and a half ago, I woke up and I had an emotion that was familiar to me. Yet I had no story. I could not remember a story that would go along with the emotion. I could not remember having a dream that I just woke up from.
What was the emotion?
Well, it was, I can't remember now because I
Okay.
freed it.
Okay.
However, it was something familiar and it didn't feel very good.
Okay, so it was an emotion, like
Yeah, it was like
one of the more charged emotions.
yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it was miserable
Mhm,
feeling, yet
mhm,
it was frustrating
mhm.
and anxious kind of. And I'm like, wait a minute. I have an emotion that has no story attached to it. And I immediately was guided in my inner thoughts to I saw it as a wave of energy, by the way, in my mind. And my eyes were closed because I was awake in bed, but I was maybe in the alpha state still, who knows. And I took that wave of energy, that feeling, that emotional charge, and I put it in a ball. I condensed it with, like, I could see my hands condensing it into a ball. And then I just took it and threw it and sent it through the portal from which it came. I remember saying something to the effect, thank you for serving me. You're no longer welcome. You're free to go home through the portal from which you came. And I saw it go through this portal, and I had instantaneous relief. I no longer felt that emotion. And what I sensed was it went through the portal and it left this field and was no longer that particular emotion, that layer was no longer accessible to me or anyone else in this realm.
So, what I'm hearing more than anything from what you just shared is that sometimes we're given a technique or a tool, and then learn to use it. But what I'm getting from this reminder is that even when I might be feeling distant from a state of meditation that I know I'm all too capable of being in, to resort to a process or a tool like the one you're sharing, to neutralize a thought first and then to release it into the source from which it came and to thank it. So now we're engaging gratitude, we're engaging willingness to clear the mind, we're engaging a lot of things in this very quick and symbolic, powerful process. So maybe all it takes most of the time is the willingness to neutralize and to clear out a thought. And before you know it, you're in this meditative state, which, in the way we're talking about it today, simply implies a clear, empty mind that is open to innate wisdom and intelligence and accessible to guidance, for example, coming through. We just make ourselves available.
I totally agree with that. To me, if I were to define meditation, I would borrow your words exactly. A pure meditative state is a clean mind, free of emotional charges and thoughts. But yet, to me, the emotional charges are what we feel and we free. The thoughts, no longer attached to the emotional charge, just seem to fall away.
They, like you said earlier today in our conversation, there's only a story to thoughts when they have an emotional expression attached to them. So that's maybe the neutrality we're talking about, cleaning, neutralizing, distancing ourselves. That's why one technique, and of course, I'm reminding myself as I speak. I knew that this conversation is all about me, Lisa.
Hey, I mean, I felt some emotional charges a lot this
Yes.
holiday season, and we're all there.
We are not
observing.
alone. I know
No.
we're not alone. And I'm being very sincere about my outreach today. It wasn't just like prototype conversation to reach people. Not at all. I said, I need help. I need some intervention. I need the motivation to go into the multitude of experiences that I know are within me and I've accessed over the years. I mean, I have one story after the other of the power of meditation and miracles. And it's just that point of disconnect where even when you want to do it, but still, quote unquote, can't or won't, how to, and talk about emotional charge. I think stubbornness or resistance, intentional or completely unconscious, there's something there, how to chisel away at that and simply go into the process of clearing and cleansing. So one, you shared this beautiful, like I'm calling it technique process of
Feel it, free it.
free it.
Mhm.
And for me, one that's always worked almost immediately is to have like an aerial view of things. And for myself, when it first came to me years ago, and immediately applied it into the work I do with clients, how many times I would remind myself and someone to imagine yourself, for example, a helium balloon, and like now you're still anchored with that sandbag, and you're in a moment, and the of whatever the moment is, with an emotional charge and as the implication, and it's right there and it's all you see. And then when you start imagining yourself, like release, cut the string from the sandbag of the helium balloon, you are the helium balloon, and just allow yourself to float away. And the more distance we have from that immersion of the moment, the more we can clear and free and etc. And who knows, the multitude of recruitments and interventions that happen in that moment. We are not alone by any means. The phone might ring. I might remember something that I really need to remember that is very helpful in that release, whatever, etc., etc. So, or you can imagine yourself in a hot air balloon or whatever image or process that is easily one that speaks to you is very important. The idea is to have that aerial view, to be able to look back in from that removed experience and see how much smaller, or even if that thing still exists. Or with that panoramic view, you might see it in context to other things that were there the whole time. But anyway, so you brilliantly reminded me today how simple and how accessible this state of mind is accessible to me.
Right. And I always remind myself that thank you for being triggered. Thank you for feeling befuddled, to myself. Thank you for feeling frustrated, because now I have an opportunity. I'm observing it and I have an opportunity. I felt it. Now I have an opportunity to free it. So I think, Iva, we're given gifts that we don't sometimes see. And instead, we just get frustrated more and more that we're feeling frustrated, or we're getting frustrated more and more that we're feeling befuddled, or we're getting frustrated because we're not feeling euphoric like we normally do. If we embrace the feelings of what we might consider to be not so pleasant. And remember what opportunity we now have in that moment to free it. Then the magic starts to happen.
Absolutely. And this could start a whole other conversation. Our clearing process in this life, in this existence, happens in layers and in phases. And I know from myself in the past, when I have hit this kind of what feels stuck or depleted, this feeling, knowing who I am, what I am, and what I'm open to, typically with more ease, usually that's a clue that, boy, this is happening for a reason, this being the distraction or trigger or state of confusion. And even my feeling that I'm disconnected, boy, I wonder what's on the other side of it, because this must be another grand release coming. So again, thank you for the reminders, Lisa. I mean, honestly, it's this simple, yet we have to show up for the process and be willing to re-engage the meditation state of mind. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And I just wanted to reemphasize that the gift I received about a year and a half ago as I woke up was huge for me, because it only gave me the emotion. And had it given me the thought, I might have confused the difference between the thought and the emotion and emphasized the thought more than the emotion. I feel the emotion is the key.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. And it sounds like it's the first time I understand this, because it makes sense. It simplifies the process even more.
Right. And the fact that you feel an emotional befuddlement is an opportunity you've been given. And when I feel frustrated or triggered, it's an opportunity I've been given. And we're given opportunities over and over and over again. We never lose the chance to feel it and free it.
So you're probably okay. So what I'm doing right now, actively with you and with our listeners, and I'm already feeling a shift, which is the brilliance of all of this. I'm focusing on frustration as the emotion with a charge.
Mm-hmm.
Frustration with myself, with my current circumstances, with the world, with, I mean, valid feeling, totally disruptive and interrupting a more productive outlook. So I am taking frustration as a wavelength, as energy, and I'm condensing it into a very, very, very tight ball, even tighter, one more squeeze, and I'm releasing it to the portal from which it came, thanking it for its gift and its wisdom, but it is no longer needed. And let's see what comes next.
I love that. So we invite you all to do that every time you observe an emotion. I did it several times today. I had an emotion come up again today, as well as yesterday. I will just be real brief on this. I'll let the listeners know, I vaccinated my children, full vaccination. I had full vaccination. However, in this stage of my life, actually since 2009, I've not been pro-vaccination for me. And I would prefer that my loved ones look at the vaccination. Do they need all the vaccinations? Do they need them at all? Now, that's my issue. It's not theirs. I'm the one holding the frustration around the vaccinations. So, when my grandson got vaccinated yesterday, I had another opportunity to release more layers of frustration around the what I might perceive to be, vaccination issues. This is my own feeling. It does not serve me or anyone in my family for me to hold on to that.
So how were you able to
I
release
did
it?
the
Is it
same thing.
released?
I did the
Okay.
same thing. I felt it and realized I'm borrowing this frustration from the field. The story is around the vaccinations. And I put it in a ball, said, "Thank you for serving me. You're no longer welcome. You're free to go home through the portal from which you came." And I threw it through the portal. And do you know what happens? My grandson has been completely healthy through this whole process.
Yes, it's good that you didn't continue
I
being
mean,
front and center on the stage in this script that was
right.
yours.
Convinced
Mhm.
that if I went into fear over this, I would have projected a different reality.
Yes,
It works. This feel it and free, it works.
I'm with you. And wrap up comment. You and I always, it's who we are. We're all inclusive, and we always like to make sure that every listener is feels that they are part of the fold of these wonderful conversations. So the examples we use can be easily translated into a multitude of belief systems and spiritual practices. Prayer. What is prayer? Prayer is an invocation. And for some who might be praying to the Lord and it is in the Lord's hands, for example, or releasing it to the Holy Mother, or recruiting the Buddhist tenets of simplicity and non-attachment, and I mean on and on and on. My point is, we started this conversation with Happy New Year, Happy New Day, Happy New Mind. Welcoming all of us together, unified in this process of clearing our minds, invoking through whatever is meaningful to us, but to release it, free it, and welcome a new day, a new moment.
And then the ripples of perception will be pure and true as well as clean.
Hallelujah. I'm satisfied and I'm transformed. That's a miracle.
To be continued.